Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
Ozcast.
Okay, so get this. President Trump just went and announced this thing called a crypto strategic reserve for the U.S. I mean, wild, right?
It is definitely a bold move.
Bitcoin, Ethereum, the whole crypto shebang could be, backed by the government.
Yeah, it's causing, well, as you can imagine, quite a stir in the financial world.
Yeah.
We've got some excerpts here from Trump's Crypto Strategic Reserve, Aims, Impact, and Controversy. It's a recent article with, well, a lot of different takes on this whole thing.
My head's still spinning, honestly. I mean, a reserve for crypto sounds like, I don't know, something out of a sci-fi movie or something.
Well, strategic reserves, that idea is not new, right? We've had them for oil, precious metals, even helium. But crypto, that's what's got everyone talking, right?
Okay, so walk me through this. What he actually announced, what's the logic here?
He says it's to, solidify the U.S.'s position in this whole new digital economy thing. Kind of, I guess, like a 21st century Fort Knox. Mm-hmm. He sees Bitcoin and Ethereum as the core of this reserve. And then, other major players, too, like XRP, Solana, ADA, all in the mix.
Wait, he actually, named those coins specifically? That's pretty interesting, just that alone.
It is, yeah. That level of detail's got the whole crypto community buzzing. And you can see the impact already. Immediately after he said it, Bitcoin jumped over 10%, Ethereum over 13%.
Wow.
And those smaller coins he mentioned, spikes of at least 20%.
Whoa, talk about instant reaction. So the market's taking this seriously. But okay, what does this crypto strategic reserve actually look like? How would it even work?
Well, that's where things get a little fuzzy. Specifics are still being, worked out. Yeah. But from what we know, the reserve would probably be built using crypto the government seized through, law enforcement and stuff.
Wait, the government seizes crypto?
Yeah.
How does that even work? It's not like they're busting into people's houses and grabbing hard drives, are they?
Actually, it's more common than you might think. Online drug marketplaces, money laundering schemes, ransomware attacks, all that, shady stuff happening online.
Right.
Law enforcement's gotten pretty good at tracking those transactions and seizing the crypto involved.
So they've just been sitting on a pile of digital gold this whole time.
Exactly. The article says the government's holding around $19 billion worth of Bitcoin from past seizures.
Wow.
And now the idea is instead of selling it off like they've done before, they hold on to it,
right.
Create this reserve.
I see. So it's kind of like turning confiscated contraband into a national asset. Clever, but also seems kind of risky, right? Yeah. I mean, crypto, volatile, right? Everyone knows that.
You're hitting on a key point of contention here. Mm-hmm. Critics, mostly economists, are worried about, the volatility. They're saying using taxpayer money to buy into this, such a volatile market, super risky.
Right.
Like a gamble that could easily backfire.
Yeah. The article quotes this economist, Mark Zandi. He basically says that this is just a scheme to benefit crypto holders, pretty much. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, there's definitely some skepticism from, the traditional finance folks. But, you also have crypto advocates who are, well, ecstatic about this, obviously.
Right.
Okay, help me understand that, though. Why are they so gung-ho about this whole, stockpile idea? It can't just be about seeing prices go up, can it?
Well, they argue that this, this government-backed reserve could actually help stabilize the market, right? Mm-hmm. Mitigate some of that volatility everyone's worried about.
So instead of these crazy, wild swings, you'd see more, predictable gradual growth.
Potentially, yeah. And that stability could, attract more institutional investors, the ones who've been hesitant because of the risk.
Right.
Could even make it, more appealing to everyday people who want to get involved but are, intimidated by the whole price fluctuation thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's kind of like, I don't know, taking some of the Wild West out of the Wild West of finance, if that makes sense.
Uh-huh.
But, okay, what about this claim that, this crypto reserve could actually, shrink the national debt. Isn't that a bit of a stretch?
It's ambitious, that's for sure.
Yeah.
The idea is, as the value of the reserve grows, and remember, crypto's known for, massive growth potential, it could generate a lot of revenue.
Right.
And that revenue could then be used to, chip away at the debt.
Okay, but even if crypto goes to the moon or whatever, wouldn't that mean the government would actually have to sell some of their holdings?
Yeah.
And wouldn't that, I don't know, push prices down? Wouldn't that kind of defeat the whole purpose of the reserve?
You're right. There's definitely some logistical hurdles to figure out. And some critics say even with huge crypto gains, the impact on the national debt would be tiny, really. But you have people like Senator Cynthia Lummis who are pushing for legislation to, make this happen.
Loomis? Isn't she the one who introduced that bill proposing a national Bitcoin stockpile as a savings technology?
That's her. Yeah, she's a big supporter of this whole idea. Believes it could cut the national debt in half.
Whoa, cutting the national debt in half with Bitcoin? That's a pretty bold claim.
Yeah.
I'm definitely curious to hear more about how she thinks that'll work. But before we go there, there's this other piece of the puzzle that I find, I don't know, kind of intriguing, and that's this whole thing with Tether.
Yes, Tether. Definitely a wrinkle in all of this.
Okay, so for those of us who aren't deep in the crypto world, remind us what Tether is and why it matters here.
So Tether's what's called a stable coin. It's designed to maintain a stable value pegged to the U.S. dollar.
Okay.
Now, what's interesting is that reports say the government's seized crypto holdings include Tether, but Trump didn't mention it specifically.
That's strange. Why leave that out? Is there something about Tether that makes it, I don't know, different from Bitcoin or Ethereum when it comes to this reserve?
Well, one theory is it might have to do with Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. He's got ties to Tether through his old role at Cantor Fitzgerald, which reportedly helps manage Tether's portfolio, maybe even has an ownership stake.
Hold on. So the guy in charge of commerce has potential financial ties to this major stablecoin that's, conspicuously absent from the plan.
Yeah, it definitely raises some eyebrows. And it's drawn criticism from people like Senator Elizabeth Warren. She's voiced serious concerns about Lutnick's involvement and, the possibility of conflicts of interest.
Wow. Okay, so we have Trump pushing this national crypto reserve thing. And meanwhile, his commerce secretary might have a personal stake in a stablecoin that's not part of the plan.
It's complicated, for sure.
It is, yeah.
It shows just how complex things get when you have these traditional power structures, colliding with this whole rapidly changing world of crypto.
It's a lot to take in. I mean, we've only just scratched the surface here, but before we, go any deeper, I think it's worth taking a moment to think about what all this means for you, the listener.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, this is big. It really makes you think about, the future of finance, what money even is anymore.
Right, yeah.
The role of government, all of these big questions.
It's like we're watching, I don't know, a high-stakes poker game, right? In real time.
Yeah.
You got the crypto folks all in, cheering Trump on, and then you got the economists, warning everyone the bubble's about to burst. And right in the middle, there's everyone else just trying to figure out, do I jump on this bandwagon?
Yeah.
Or do I run for the hills?
Exactly. So let's try to, unpack this a bit more for our listeners. Let's say, I don't know, hypothetically, I'm intrigued by this crypto reserve idea, but I'm also, a little wary of the risks. What are some potential benefits beyond this whole shrink the national debt argument, which, I'll be honest, sounds a bit like wishful thinking to me.
Okay, well, think about it this way. One of the biggest things holding crypto back, right?
Yeah.
Wider adoption. It's the volatility. Even, seasoned investors, they get spooked by those crazy price swings.
Right, not for the faint of heart, that's for sure.
So now imagine if the government, right, with all their huge reserves, could kind of step in, smooth things out a bit.
Okay.
Buy when the price dips, sell when it spikes, basically act as a stabilizing force.
So it's like the Federal Reserve, but for Bitcoin.
In a way, yeah. Could create a kind of safety net, Make crypto less risky, more appealing to institutional investors, pension funds, even everyday folks who are just, thinking about dipping their toes in. Right. More stability, more mainstream adoption, yeah. But wouldn't that mean the government's constantly buying and selling? Isn't that the opposite of the whole decentralization thing that makes crypto, appealing in the first place?
Yeah, that's a good point. It does raise questions about, how much government involvement is too much. Would they be setting price targets?
Hmm.
Manipulating the market? These are all things that would need, a lot of thought, a lot of debate.
Okay, so potential benefits, but also potential, like, pitfalls.
Definitely.
Okay, so what about the risks? Besides the obvious volatility, what else should people be thinking about?
Mismanagement. That's a big one. We're talking about like billions of dollars here. If those funds aren't managed well, transparently, it could be, a recipe for disaster.
And with all this talk about, like, potential conflicts of interest, it's hard not to be a little skeptical, right? I
Yeah.
mean, the whole Tether situation, the Commerce Secretary's connections, it all seems a bit, I don't know, murky.
Transparency and accountability, those are crucial here. Clear guidelines, strict oversight, a strong regulatory framework, like all of that is needed to prevent abuse and make sure this reserve, if it happens, serves the American people.
This whole conversation, it keeps bringing me back to Trump himself. His history with crypto adds this whole other layer to the story, right?
It's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah.
This isn't just some, random policy decision. It feels like it's like the culmination of his interest in the crypto world. Remember all that early fundraising he did from crypto figures?
Mm-hmm.
And then there was that whole saga with the Trump key meme coin.
Oh, right. I almost forgot about that. It was like, I don't know, something out of like a late night comedy sketch, a presidential meme coin.
It was definitely unexpected. And it makes you wonder about his motivations, right? Is this just about like the U.S.'s place in the digital economy?
Right.
Or is there some personal interest mixed in there?
Hard to say for sure, but one thing is clear. This story's got a lot of layers, and we're only just starting to see how it all unfolds. And it's not just about Trump or the U.S. either, right?
Yeah.
This could impact, like, the whole global financial landscape.
Absolutely. Other countries are watching for sure. Some are already, looking into their own digital currency stuff. This move by the U.S. could really speed things up. I mean, we could be on the verge of like a major shift in the global monetary system.
Okay, that's a lot. My mind is officially blown. So for our listeners out there, what's the takeaway?
Mm-hmm.
What should they be paying attention to as this, keeps developing?
I'd say keep a close eye on how governments and institutions, all over the world, how they react to this. It shows that crypto is not some fringe thing anymore.
Right.
It's forcing its way into the mainstream, and the effects of that are, they're huge. Everything from global trade to, personal finance, it's all going to be touched by this.
It's a lot to process for sure, but I think one thing's clear. This is a pretty fascinating time to be alive.
It is, yeah.
We're witnessing like a potential paradigm shift in finance, and it's happening right in front of us.
And the choices we make now, individually, collectively, they're going to shape the future of this whole landscape.
So to our listener, we leave you with this. Don't just, sit back and watch all this happen. Get informed, stay engaged, and I think most importantly, keep asking questions.
This really shows how fast the financial world's changing. Right?
Yeah.
We're moving from this system built on, tangible assets, centralized control, to something, I don't know, way more abstract, more decentralized.
Right.
Exciting, but also a little unnerving, I guess.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot to like wrap your head around. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that most people thought of crypto as, this niche thing like for techies and libertarians.
Right.
And now it's being talked about at the highest levels of government, finance, like.
It really shows you how disruptive technology can be. And it brings up like these fundamental questions about, what is money? How is it created? Who controls it? All that.
It's almost like we're at this crossroads, right?
Uh-huh.
One path leads us to, I don't know, a more decentralized, open financial system. Maybe empowers individuals, levels the playing field, all that. The other path, well, that could lead to, I don't know, even more concentrated power and control.
Oh, right.
With the governments and corporations using these tools to, to their advantage.
It's so important that we, as citizens, as participants in this whole evolving system, understand what these choices really mean,
Right.
The potential benefits, the risks, the opportunities, the threats, like all of it.
So what's the first step? If someone's listening to this thinking, okay, I need to like get up to speed, where do they start?
I'd say start by, digging into the stuff we talked about today.
Oh.
Blockchain technology, different types of cryptocurrencies, the regulations, potential uses, like all that. There's tons of great resources out there. Online, educational websites, podcasts like this one.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to ask questions, even if they seem basic or whatever.
Right.
This is a complicated, constantly changing field. No one expects you to know everything.
Exactly, yeah. The main thing is to stay curious. Keep a critical mindset. Don't just, believe everything you hear from politicians or, influencers.
Right.
Do your research, think for yourself, and then, come to your own conclusions.
This is just the start of the conversation, and it's one that we'll definitely keep coming back to on the show. We hope you'll join us, on this whole journey of exploration and discovery as we navigate all this, the uncharted waters of the future of finance.
And remember, the future isn't just something that happens to us. It's something we create together through our choices, our actions. So stay informed, stay engaged, and stay curious. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast. Ozcast. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.